In this video, you're going to learn all about the micro-communities that make up Gig Harbor, Washington.
Our local MLS breaks these communities up into areas that realtors refer to as 1 through 9.
Yep.
If you'd like to learn more about Gig Harbor, make sure to subscribe to our page.
Yes.
Today we're in Rosedale, which is a neighborhood in Gig Harbor, and it's known as Area 3 on the MLS.
That's right.
Right now we're at Rosedale Market, which originally was known as Templeton's.
Well, it was Ides first, and then it was Templeton's, and now Rosedale Market.
It has a lot of great things inside. It's a perfect place to stop off if you're needing cold beverage or a couple of produce items, grocery store items. It's got what you need, a little bit.
They even have biscuits and gravy in the morning.
Oh, you
Little
love
known
their
fact.
biscuits.
I'm here
and
every
gravy.
morning.
He
for
does.
you.
I love this. I talk about this a lot, that Gig Harbor was separated out into little communities. So Rosedale was one of those. The one-room schoolhouse was right behind us, which is now the baseball fields. This was the market. The Mosquito Fleet picked up down on the corner. So pretty cool little spot.
Go ahead.
Factoid, back in the 1880s, very long time ago, 140 years ago, this was a huge area, Rosedale, for homesteaders. So 3 brothers from Germany came in and they got a total of 520 acres in the Rosedale area, and their last name was Zemmel, or as you're supposed to say, Zamel. So for an $18 filing fee, these brothers homesteaded 520 acres in this area.
Amazing.
Now 98 of those acres has become what we know as Zamel Park, which around here, it's where the kids are practicing most any sport, playing on the playground, hiking on the trails, great community center.
Yeah.
It's a definite hub.
And it has remained probably the most rural of all the Gig Harbor areas.
I would say there's less planned communities, neighborhoods. It's more rural, larger parcels. It's also home to Gig Harbor High School, which is one of the 2 high schools here. Go Tides. So 4A high school, and it's just at the bottom of the street, Rosedale.
Just down from Gig Harbor High School, take Rosedale, there's Lombard. It's my favorite street in all of Gig Harbor because it's just this street lined with this old growth forest on both sides. And if I was ever to chain myself to a tree at threat of a bulldozer, it would be on that street. But thankfully, the Weyerhaeuser family owns those parcels, and we don't risk that ever, or we don't fear that ever happening.
We hope not.
Yeah.
And Lombard kind of connects Artendale and Rosedale.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about Rosedale Street is that it connects Rosedale to all of the other areas in Gig Harbor.
Yeah, good point.
Rosedale is pretty much the most centrally located of all the areas in Gig Harbor.
If we could just get a exit off of 16 directly onto Rosedale, it would make getting home a lot easier for me. I love it.
It is nice. It's right in the middle of Gig Harbor North, downtown, and then uptown. It just kind of connects all 3, so it is a good spot. There is also a very cool, we have a historic building here in Rosedale. It is the church, the Rosedale Church. It was built in 1907, and we are going to go across the way and we're going to interview one of our friends. He's a longtime resident of Rosedale, and we're going to ask him some information. He is full of facts, and we're going to go over and do that at the church. Come along. Hi there. We are down here at the Rosedale Church, which is a historic building built in 1907 with our resident expert, Jim Brian Langhelm. And we're going to ask him a few questions about living here in the Rosedale area. First of all, which I find fascinating, right across the street, which is now the baseball fields, was the Rosedale School. And you attended that school. You want to talk about that?
I attended 4th grade there. We moved out from Shore Acres in 1949.
Okay.
So I could start my 4th grade schooling over here.
Okay.
And it was wood-heated school.
Oh, yeah.
So they had the woodshed associated with the school.
Yeah.
A few years after I went to upper grades, the Peninsula School District started a hot lunch program, and my mother started the hot lunch program at the Rosedale School until it closed down.
Oh, that is great. And you said, so we all are familiar with the one-room schoolhouses. His was actually a 2-room schoolhouse. So there was a wall in between the lower levels?
No, there was one level building, and there was just a movable wall to separate the 2 classes. It was 1st and 2nd, 3rd and 4th together.
Okay.
And we had kids coming here from close to Purdy.
Okay.
But there were other grade schools of this type in the community, but
Okay.
Rosedale was one of them.
Great. Another really great fact about Jim is, for those of you that are not familiar with the Mosquito Fleet, the Mosquito Fleet was a fleet of ferry boats that would get people to all of our harbors from the peninsulas to the mainland. And do you want to talk about Rosedale's own Mosquito Fleet?
Because Rosedale was one of the stopping points for the Mosquito Fleet boats.
Okay.
They not only carried people, but they also transported goods and services.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the way it would work, people in the community could order something, hardware equipment,
Sure.
and they would bring it in on the Mosquito with the boat. They would leave it in a warehouse on the end of the float, and then they would call the person that ordered it to tell them, your item is in, you
Come
can
and
come
get your
down and
goods.
pick it up.
The old school Amazon, if you will.
Yeah, because they also were growing produce, eggs, berries. So the Mosquito Fleet also transported produce from here
Okay.
to markets in Tacoma.
Okay, that is wonderful. And there is a plaque down here marking the Mosquito Fleet location.
Yes, identifying it as one of the stops for the Mosquito Fleet.
Okay. What else would you like to share with the public about Rosedale? The growth, the...
When we first moved to Rosedale, Rosedale Street, as it is right now, was the main artery from Gig Harbor to Rosedale.
Okay.
Just on the Gig Harbor side of Ray Nash, the original road bed was in two different locations going up the hill. And those remnants of that road bed are still there.
Oh,
And at the top of the hill across from Rosedale Gardens, there's a street that goes in there. That was the loop at the top of the hill for Rosedale Street.
oh goodness, I know exactly what street you're talking about. Yeah,
So that road has been there a good many years.
yeah.
And through the years, I've seen gradual growth to the level that it is. I had 26 years with Fire District 5 as a volunteer, and in that time I saw Rosedale with the slowest growth of all the surrounding community.
Right. Yeah, that is one of the
And-
things that people look for when they're buying homes in this area is they love the rural aspect of
And that's what
Rosedale.
I've enjoyed the most here.
Yeah.
I'd like to say we still have a low quantity of real estate development.
Yes. I
And,
would say you're right.
It showed with the fire department, it showed with both aid calls and fire calls.
Well, thank you very much for volunteering for that firehouse. That is wonderful. And you brought with you today this book about Rosedale, and this is just fascinating to me. This has pictures of the children from the schoolhouse. I love this kind of history. So thank you so much for sharing information with us today. Thank you for providing this, and we look forward to seeing you around town.
Today we're in Rosedale, which is, hold on, known as IDs.
Which was, oh, bugger hat. Just down from Gig Harbor High School.
I am not